Well, my father didn't have any trees by that time, so it didn't bother him and that except for the small crops.
What was it in 98? We had something in 98.
Nothing that I know of.
Well, when did your father have a freeze on his citrus, for instance?
Well, actually, with the freeze with the citrus trees, we never really had any because, it's just sometimes a degree or two, that keeps them from freezing. Cold helps the citrus. A little cold helps them, but improves the flavor.
We had in 1930, I think it was 1935.
We're heavy, with that being on an island, we were always a degree or two above.
December 1935, it was cold enough that when the tank overflowed, we had a
overhead water tank.
An overhead water tank. And if you left the windmill on, the tank overflowed, which just went down the ground, didn't make any difference.
Sam didn't take too long a bath.
Yeah. And so that night it froze, and it was icicles 6 feet long hanging off of the. And we had banana trees under there, and they were all covered.
You know how the grass up north gets when it gets wet and it freezes ice around it?
Yeah.
Well, it did that in our backyard with this tank. We'd never seen anything like it before. We were just absolutely bug-eyed.
It was
3 and 4 foot icicles, and ice on the ground.
Ice on the ground. There's no posts were covered with ice. It got down. I guess it got down 28, something like that.
That or colder, I don't really know.
In the 20s anyway, and it stayed that way, quite a while. But we we lost some vegetables, but
you lost all the vegetables.
we didn't lose any.
Of course,
any
coconuts
citrus at all.
Is that probably the coldest time you ever experienced in your lifetime?
No, I think maybe the coldest was here about 15 years ago. Mary, you remember when we had one?
It wasn't that
and
long.
it stayed below freezing for 2 or 3 hours, which is
it was 76 or
really hit it here on
77.
the island. Well, 2 years ago was awful cold, just a short time, when we had that terrible cold.
And my front yard in Tampa was solid white with snow.
Yeah, but there's a lot of difference in temperature here in Tampa.
Yeah, but that was the time. It was.
We're talking about modern times. Like you wouldn't know about the old times.
Well, you said 15 years ago.
That's modern time. 30 years ago.
And that was 15 years ago, 1977.
Yeah.
How about
Ask some
fires?
questions.
What do you remember about fires?
Fires?
Yeah. After a certain young man grew up, we didn't have too many.
I don't get that one. But
Well, we had they had those. Isaiah Gavin was one of them, and got a guy named Johnny Johnson, and I can't think of their names.
Jim Bolton.
Bolton, yeah, and they got some idea. I guess he went and got drunk, and he started lighting fires, and we'd put out one fire, and another one would start, and so Daddy finally found out what was that they were doing it, and he called Isaiah in, and he said, the last ferry leaves at 5 o'clock. You, Bolton, Johnson will be on it. And they were. And he didn't come back for about 10 years, did he?
More like 20, 25.
You believe that?
Well, the other thing too, one reason he said there was a bunch of them around here, we're going to take them out and horsewhip them. Yeah. And Daddy said, they're leaving. You don't do that. Yeah.
They left. They're ready to leave.
Yeah. Well, what did you bring out?
We're fighting fires.
Oh, well, the chief firefighting equipment was a palmetto fan. And so you cut a palmetto fan, a heavy green one, and if you really felt anxious, you cut 2 of them, put them together, and of course they're fairly sharp on the end, so you take your knife and slice off that sharp edge so you can grab them easier, and that's the way you fought the fires. You beat them out with a palmetto fan.
If you had water, we used burlap sacks. If you get, sometimes there was water in ditches. If you had a bucket, you could dip the burlap sack, and you put just a little bit of dirt in the bottom of the sack so it would swing, and that was a good firefighter. And that's why we just beat it out by hand. And pine boughs, a heavy pine bough,
Well, do you remember the time, I think it was on a Mother's Day in the 50s?
He wasn't here yet.
But Francis, there was a big fire back of Sanibel.
Yep.
Burned acres and acres and
It
acres.
started just right in that corner there. In fact, I drove by just as it was starting. It was a real dry day, and we got out and started, jumped the road, and we never did catch up. Well, you're right, absolutely.
And didn't we have a fire truck then? Seemed like.
I don't know, in the
I
50s.
don't know whether we had a fire truck then or not, Mary.
But everybody on the island was out fighting.
Oh,
that
yeah.
fire.
Yeah, well, that's what we used to do in the old
For
days. It
hours
just,
and hours.
the word get around and everybody just come out and fight the fire.
It was like a wildfire.
It was a while, yeah.
If it was dry, boy, and if the wind was blowing, it was tough
It
to
was,
stop it.
well, it was Mother's Day. You know how dry it is in May.
You get in that sawgrass and you can't get anywhere near it. It just eats
Because
it
it
alive.
burns down in a hurry. It's not like wood. As soon as it burns down, you get it's a little stubble that's left. But while it's burning, whew, it's hot.
Yeah, but then it spreads so fast.
Oh, yeah.
You just,
It explodes.
You can't keep up with it.
Another one of the disasters, depending on your viewpoint, of course, was building the causeway.
As far as I'm concerned, yes.
What was it like? Kim, you talked about cooperation between islanders fighting fires. You want to talk about the cooperation there and trying to stop?
Well, we had two diabolically, well, that's the word, bitterly opposed camps. And Mary knows that.
But
And
the people in favor of the causeway were such a small but vocal minority.
yeah, well, there weren't a great deal of any of us. And well, we tried everything we could, including try to go to the Supreme Court to stop it, and it didn't.
Well, Lee County wanted it.
Oh yeah, and Lee County was our government.
Yeah.
Big money.
And Lindgren offered to buy all the bonds.
Yeah, yeah. So that helped considerably.
And it was after that Kelly made all those canals down there, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. What? Wait a minute. No, I think he started some of those before, Mary, didn't he? Yes, he did.
In the 50s,
Because he had to
did.
fill the canal that he dug.
Mhm.
That was right across where the bridge comes across. There was a canal parallel to the beach, and they filled that when they brought the causeway over. When they pumped in when they pumped in enough to make the road. Yeah, old Kelly had those before. You're right.
What was Kelly's first name?
I don't know. He was,
D.
huh?
D. Kelly.
D. Kelly. D. Yeah.
Where did he, what was his company name?
He was.
I think he had something. I don't know whether he had anything to do with Simmons or he himself. He didn't have anything. He was just all hot air and whatnot. Who was it?
Well, Lindgren didn't support all that stuff?
This is
This was before Lindgren.
before.
Well, I thought D. Kelly bought the property from.
I don't think D. Kelly bought
Simmons
anything, including the automobile that he was driving and a shirt that was on his back. I don't think he had anything. All he had was a lot of hot air.
Well, who owned the property? Simmons, Monteith, and Kinsey.
You know, Lindgren, I believe, had some of that in there too that did that. Because why would he want the bridge to come over? He thought he was getting ready to buy it. Because then he owned all of
I
Sanibel
thought he bought
Estates.
from Kelly.
Well, Kelly would lead you to believe that he had it. I almost got into a fight with him at Chamber of Commerce meeting one night. I don't know whether you were there. But, well, we're not making much headway here.
Well, there was, going back to this interview that you made years back, you talked about a still at Island Inn. You want to tell that story?
Yeah, well, that was in the 50s.
I
Yeah,
know.
Huh?
Well, maybe we should.
It wasn't
No, it was
after.
before you got here, Mary, because Daddy was still alive, but he was in there about 51 or 52 or something like that. Well, Shabam had that's my Aunt Shalala, had a Henry Rhodes' brother working for her in the summertime doing some certain things, and he kept coming in and wanting to borrow 5 pounds of sugar and asking questions about a metal coil and on and on and on like that. And then he'd come in, I don't know, the upshot of it all was that he had made this still in the room that she'd furnished him out back.
Wasn't the first still on the island.
Oh no, good grief no.
Go on.
Tell about some others.
Some of the
Frank.
others.
Well, I really don't know. The only one I ever saw was when we were fighting fire one time. I saw the remains of one. Honestly, I never saw any of them.
Where was that?
That was up roughly where high tide is now. You know,
They had them, I saw one that it wasn't working at the time, but it had just recently been working, and it was over where, what they call Beach Road now. And there wasn't anything, you go back in there and go back
yeah.
toward, right along on the edge of the, what we used to call a bayou, now they call it Sanibel River. And right in the edge of the bayou, that was the most complete one I ever saw. There was also one back behind the schoolhouse. And when we were kids, we used to recess or
Look for it. I
sometimes-
never found it. Did you? I don't remember seeing it.
Oh yeah. Well, this was after you were gone. This was in the middle 30s, so I'd say around 36, 30, around in there, and it was behind. It was between Castabell Road and the schoolhouse, about halfway between. And that one it was pretty much out of function. But the one that was down there, Pledger Cochran and those guys, I think.
Oh, well, they had 3 or 4 of them, but they were just in their rooms, yeah. They were for their own consumption.
This one was set up in, out in it, and, you know, it had...
In the Ruby King?
Who?
In the Ruby King Hotel.
Oh, no, they had that house over there, but it was back from the house and toward about where Mench's trailer park is now. Right in that area, right in there.
What is this Ruby King Hotel? Never heard of it.
Well, Ruby King is a kind of pepper, bell pepper, sweet pepper. And Mrs. Richardson's family made so much money out of peppers one year, they built this hotel, you know, down on where Reed's place is, where we just moved the old post office, and all the wags dubbed it the Ruby King.
Oh, I thought you were talking about, there was a shack over on, I don't know who built the thing, but it was off the road, there was no road to it, and the guys didn't have cars, but they didn't need a road to it, they walked to it. And it was...
Where? What are you talking?
It was about where, well, right here where I'll tell you where that cell was. It was, I'd say it was 300 or 400 feet from the beach on that ridge, and about 300 or 400 feet from, or maybe a little more than that, from what is now called Beach Road. Well, there's no road there now. They've closed. Haven't they closed that road off? Well, it goes down to Loggerhead Cay. Back in there, there was a shack back in there. And these guys would come in to pick limes, or it was too cold up north, or where it was. They'd come in here, you know, and they'd look around. There was another old place right on the curve, right across the road from where Mench's trailer park is now, right off Periwinkle, right on the curve. There used to be I guess it was a barn, I can't remember.
That was a home.
It was a home, and the guys were living there, and no doors, no windows, roof column there. Yeah, and there were several of those places on the island, and but that's what I was talking about. I thought you were talking about and I don't think anybody claimed the house. Of course, Webb Shanahan had a piece of property where he sold to 3 different people, and had it surveyed about 8,000.
Which piece was that?
Well, Father Price tell you the story a lot better than I can. Well,
It's not the piece down by the lighthouse where the.
no, it's where Loggerhead Key was,
Oh.
Key or K or whatever you call it over there. And Francis went over to try to locate a piece of land, and so he got the descriptions. And he drew it up on a piece of paper, and every time he drew one up, he drew it up with a different color. And it was like this.
Don't
You know.
mess with that.
One description was there, and one was there, one was here, and that's the way the descriptions went. This was described here, this is described here, this is described here, this is described there. And he took he surrounded it with barbed wire, and I don't know how much land we lost on that, but you can tell him more about that than I can.
Webb Shanahan sold to your daddy. And
No, that was a long time ago. No, he didn't sell it. I don't think Daddy was involved in that. He owned where Loggerhead K was.
Yeah.
We didn't own that,
Oh,
and we owned property beyond it and behind it. At least when I knew it, didn't own that corner piece there. And we owned, and the descriptions were unbelievable. And Ida Red bought a piece of land in there, and the corner of her house stuck about that far. What was it, about 3 feet into the property?
Probably.
3 feet, and she
You
went
got
to
some of the
Daddy.
facts right.
She went to Daddy in tears that she'd built her house and that he was going to take her house. And he said, "Madam, I'm not going to take anything away from you." And she said, "Will you put that in writing?" And he did. And with that, he went to court and got 80 feet of beachfront property from her.
she did?
Yeah. That was, is she still down? No, she's not on the island anymore, is she? Is she still alive?
I think so.
Yeah. But,
A lot of
that was
these
an expensive.
descriptions of property were very imprecise, because if you remember when Paul and Finetta Stalin bought some of that property, there was a mix-up between where Jake Stokes lived.
That's still mixed up.
That's east
Yeah.
of the community church, isn't it? That was all mixed up there.
Well, Johnson reset the section line that was after 1950, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He reset the section line.
That's the one that Mary's talking about, yeah.
That cost me $1,200 for a piece of land about that big. He moved the section line and put a piece of property across the road. And right in front of a piece of property that we owned. We didn't have any access to the land because it moved the section line. Everything was done, in the old days, was done basically by the road, you know. And they measured they take a wagon, tie a piece of string around it, and figure the wagon wheel was so big around, and every time that rag came up, that was so many feet, you know. And the mule would get to a gopher hole, he'd go around the gopher hole. so the distance got a little thrown off, to say the least. I don't know how he got that section line. Maybe that was unreal. But he did. But Johnson really knew this island. He's the only guy that
Was that Carl?
Carl Johnson, the engineer he's talking about, yeah.
And he was
Cadastral surveyor, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know, if it hadn't been for him, I don't think half the property in the island would ever been properly described. Well, didn't that thing I laid out there, didn't that pretty well describe that property down there?
Well,
You don't like my stories. Anyway,
Some of the other characters,
he
Webb Shanahan was one of some of the other,
this is on tape. Well, it's a couple of them we can't tell.
Oh, change the name.
Wait, there wasn't hardly anybody on the island that wasn't a
Wasn't
character.
Character, yeah.
Did you ever know Charlie Knapp?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking about him because he always wore his
Wore his wristwatch here.
across his
Yeah.
palm of his hand.
Yeah.
That's so he couldn't work with that hand?
I don't know. No,
No,
Charlie
he-
Knapp, that's one thing about him, you never say he was a hard worker.
No.
Oh, he worked hard.
Yeah.
You know, he used to be up at South Seas when I came. That's where he was. He was running South Seas.
Charlie Knapp was?
Sure, in the summertime.
Yeah.
He may have done that because he owned Green Lawn Lodge. Isn't it still called Green Lawn Lodge up there?
It's called a vacant field.
Ah, a lot of those buildings are still there.
Well, go up and look for yourself then.
Well, then they bombed it?
Yeah,
When?
a year or two ago.
Oh, I was gonna say I ate in that place about 2 years ago, I guess it was.
What was the most recent name of the place that Sam's talking about, Francis?
I don't know for sure. There was a whole series of cottages that they had, and you off the road, you drive back there this way, and that he built up there. At one time, they worked with them with Gulf.
Gulf View in.
Gulf UM was now the Mucky Duck.
Uh-huh.
They
Jimmy-
worked
Jimmy
together
White
with
had
that.
that.
They were part of that. I think Mrs. Wedican owned them.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they ever changed it.
Well,
And the
Green
name.
Lawn Lodge was halfway down the road on the
That-
opposite side.
That's right. Exactly.
In those days, the road came down. It didn't cut in. It came all the way down to what's the name of that road goes into Andy Ross's place? They call it Andy Ross Lane now, I guess.
Well, it's
It was
Palm.
It was
Palm.
Palm.
Palm Avenue.
Yeah,
Palm
Palm
Avenue.
Avenue. Yeah, we didn't have any signs in the days. You just called it, whatever.
Well, Charlie Mack was just running South Seas in the summer as a fishing camp.
Yeah.
Then somebody else would come down and run it in a fancier way for the winter.
When was Sim? What's his face there?
Rouse?
Yeah, Sim Rouse. You know Sim Rouse?
I know the name, but it had to be before.
Yeah, he was there in the 40s and 50s, late 40s, early
Yeah,
50s.
I know he was there in the 40s, but I thought he stayed on into the.
Well, Charlie Knapp owned Casabel in the early 40s,
Yeah.
before he sold to Howard Lee.
Yeah, and he owned Green Lawn Lodge. And he didn't he didn't have either one of them. Well, he sometimes would rent some cottages in the summertime at Captiva. Casabel, but in Captiva, he locked that thing up, lock, stock, and barrel. It was completely closed in the summertime.
Who was Calhoun?
Calhoun.
Yeah, there was somebody by the name of Calhoun. Was he a black man? Had several names.
Calhoun. That sounds a little familiar.
I don't know. If it's one of these beauties you got on here, the guy's name is Smith, and you got it down Emil Shinitsky, but
That's the way I heard it.
Calhoun.
old Leon Crumpler was a character. The guy that ran the ferry. You got him down as Captain Crumb.
Pup.
Crump.
Oh, I see it on this list about the hurricane,
Uh-huh.
you don't have McQuaid's name. They were all there.
Yeah, Mike and Diane
Oh.
Waits.
Yeah.
Well, they're modern. They're after 1950.
Oh. And you know that the people who lived in that little house on,
The bakery?
the little house that was on Tulipa Way, who were friends of the McQuaids,
Yeah.
they came with the big dog.
And their mother and father. There were 4 of them.
Yes, and that big dog.
And the dog, yeah.
Who were all the people that ran them? Remember the restaurants that started down there at the ferry landing, and when they moved the post office and the ferry down there?
Evelyn and Betty Sears.
Yeah.
Well, Vince and Vince McVetti, Gene McVetti ran it before.
Somebody asked me about it.
Sears.
I couldn't remember that they were down there, but that's
That's right, yeah, they
Evelyn
did.
and Betty.
Yeah.
Evelyn and Betty were there, yeah.
but they didn't make much impression. It was Evelyn and Betty that you really did.
Oh, yeah.
Who started it?
Well, Kinsey started
Kinsey, I
the
know
thing
Kinsey built it.
because he wanted someplace for his patrons while they were waiting for the
Yeah.
ferry.
I think Gene and Vince were here when we came, and that they were running that.
Who were the first ones? Was Evelyn and Betty the first one?
No, he said
No.
McVetti.
That's what I thought.
McVetti then started a laundry.
Yeah, up here where the veterinarian is now.
Yeah.
What do we call it? The marina? Casa
Casa
Marina?
Marina.
Casa Marina. Yeah, Casa
That's what it was called.
Yeah, Casa Marina.
Until Betty came, then they changed to the Nutmeg.
They changed the nutmeg down there?
That's where they started the Nutmeg, Betty and Evelyn, Nutmeg.
I didn't think they had the new name until
Yeah,
they
they-
had the new location.
Are you
Oh,
sure?
that wasn't all in here. I didn't either. I never heard that name down there.
Well, I thought that's what they called. I don't know. Well, anyway, we used to go down and eat lunch. I know that.
Yeah.
Well, when McVetti's had it, we'd go down there on Saturday night and drink beer.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
You know, now,
He was
now
good
that you
at
bring that up, seems to me I'm starting to remember something, Mary.
That was our big recreation besides the square dance.
Yeah.
Square dance at the community center?
Yes. Pickens and well, Pickens didn't do much calling. Friday used to do a lot of calling.
I remember Doc calling. Doc
Yeah, he did some, but I think didn't Friday do more? I don't know.
Nobody ever brings up the cockerels. Were they?
Yeah.
Were they still here when you were there?
No. Were they?
No.
Yeah, Mrs. Cockrell was.
You sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, the old
Oh, I
man died.
remember her because she told me she didn't learn to drive until after her husband died.
She never learned to drive.
Well,
She
still-
took the
got-
car down the road, but
Yeah,
she never learned how to
drive.
drive. You see her coming, you get off in the woods.
That's the truth. You'd see a car coming down, you'd see another car
She
off
was-
the edge.
she was
That
so
because
short.
They knew who was driving that car.
She looked through the bottom spokes of the steering wheel to look.
Like Grandma Galt did.
Yeah, yeah, but Grandma, she knew how to drive.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, poor
But
Mrs.
Mrs.
Cockrell.
Cockrell didn't learn to drive till she was after 70.
Oh,
And she smoked cigarettes like this, you know, between her fingers like this, and almost burned her fingers. She'd smoke it down to the very.
she was a doer though.
She
Yeah.
was. She was a real
Oh,
good.
they built that house down there, and you go down there when they were building it, and he was wandering around on the floor trying to figure out how to get up there, and she was up on the roof nailing the shingles on.
Little bitty thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But she did a lot of that work herself.
Then
And that house is still down there. You know, I brought that up as a possible landmark, and the reason was, you know, the way it was built, and it is old, and the way it was built, and it was built strictly for the island. People built it themselves to make a home here. I think it's got some significance to it, and of course Ellie didn't go for it, but that's one of the, we still got it on the possibility list.
Well, who built their other house over on the Gulf?
That was
Oh, they
Donahue.
built that themselves, same way.
Donahue was in on their daughter was in on that. I never did figure out that relationship with the daughter. I don't know if it was really their daughter or
Yeah,
not.
it was a daughter.
But
Enid.
Enid Donahue.
Well, she was brown the first time I ever knew her.
Yeah.
And then she married Joe.
Joe Donahue.
Yeah, she had 2 or 3 names, but anyway, he was something else too. But Miss Cockrell used to have dancing lessons up
I was
there.
just getting we were forced to go up there. Mother would have us up there to do these dancing lessons.
Oh, that Cockrell. And we danced over that Cockrell playing the piano. And he'd hammer
He
away on
couldn't
that
play the
dance.
scale unless he had music up there.
He couldn't see it, he couldn't hear it. He'd get pounded on that thing. And she'd be trying to talk and
She'd get ready for him to
stamp her
quit, you
foot
know.
and Robert, Robert, Robert.
Clap her hands and holler at him. And he was just playing away, you know.
It was
Who else
something.
took dancing lessons besides you two?
Well,
We,
most of the kids in the school I think we went up there during school hours, I'm not sure.
Well,
Oh,
we
we
had
had
to
15,
because-
20 people up there, more.
Yeah, because of the bus, you know, we didn't ride the, well, we did we got kids, at first we didn't ride the bus because there wasn't any kids at the lighthouse. But
Hold
then-
your thing for posterity.
Oh, that's, go ahead, it's all right.
It's all right, the camera picks it up.
Yeah, the Palmers came in at the
Lighthouse keeper.
lighthouse, and they had 4 or 5 kids and 4 kids, I
The
guess. it was.
Palmers,
Palmer.
P-A-L-M-E-R-S.
Yeah, and this was in the 30s, early 30s, and the bus had, you had to live 2 miles from the school, and we only lived about 1 mile from school, so they didn't pick us up. But then after the Palmers did, they came by, so we could ride the bus. So we rode the bus to school, and as Francis said, I think they allowed the bus to go up to the community house, or maybe we did it during, I forget, but you know, we had kids from Captiva, Wolford. We had, there was always a family up there that worked for Chadwick.
Did you take the dancing lessons at the community house?
Yes,
At the community house, yeah.
There wasn't any piano at the school.
No. It wasn't that big.
Yeah, there's no room, and desks on there.
Desk in there.
Although we used to have plays at the school.
Yeah, we put on plays.
Call them that if you want to, you know.
Who are your teachers?
Who?
Yeah, your,
Well, if there was a Mrs. Wiles, who was Charlotta Carper's father's first wife, that taught there, and then,
She taught your first year.
yeah, and then Mrs. Burhans. I saw her
Before
not.
Beulah, TM
What?
was, before Beulah, TM was married to someone else?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they lived in the house that Jake Stokes lived in.
Her name was Ruth Carter.
Ruth Carter, yeah.
She taught
And
school.
had a
there.
son named Tommy. My mother and she used to correspond for years. And even after mother died, we used to get Christmas cards from her.
She was a nice lady. She really was. She lived where the Out Island Marina is now.
I already told Mary where she lived. She
Oh,
lived
you
where
did?
Stokes lived, yeah, in the same house.
You got your hearing aid turned up?
No, but you haven't got yours. Second grade teacher I had was Mrs. Burhan. I told you, she lived in the house that Hayward lived in. You know, the one they just tore down.
Oh, they
Belonged to
Kenny
they used
Dr.
that
Mrs.
for
Goodhue.
fire practice, didn't they?
Dr. and Mr. Good, Mr. and Dr. Goodhue. She was the doctor. And they rented it to the Burhans.
We brought that house up for consideration. When we did, I didn't know who built it. I knew, the first person I knew who lived in it was Burhans. And then,
Well, Dr. Goodhue, that's where John got that 22 rifle from Dr.
Yeah.
Goodhue.
Dr. Goodhue. Good who? I forgot how you spell it.
Goodhue. I
Goodhue.
think it was spelled Goodhue.
Yeah.
And then we had a Mrs. Moore in the 3rd and 4th grade. The 4th and 5th grade, I'm sorry.
No,
Third and 4th.
yeah. You at first grade,
Yeah.
you and Ruth Carter and
No, the first grade, a mother taught me at home. 2nd grade, I don't think Mrs. Wiles taught me. No, Sam. Mrs. Burhans in the 2nd
maybe
grade.
not, because
Or-
Burhans was here 2 years.
No, Burhans was here 1 year. Mrs. Moore was here 2 years.
Turn that hearing aid off.
you went through a lot of teachers, didn't you?
What?
Oh, yeah.
You went through a lot
He
of
wasn't even in the
teachers.
school. I didn't know.
Well, I went to school. I used to go to school, just go there and
Like Sidney and Ellen.
like Sidney now, I guess mother wanted to get rid of me and I'd go
I
up to
wonder
school.
why.
And she taught me kindergarten too.
Taught us
But
all.
the first year I went, Mrs. Moore, 1930,
Yeah, and I was in the
4th grade.
Are you saying
I was in the
Mrs.
first grade. You were
Moore
3
or
years
Mrs.
ahead.
Moore.
Moore?
Yeah, like colon. Moore. Moore.
She was there 2 years.
And then our aunt taught me
Aunt Mary was
6th
there
grade.
1 year.
And then old lady Harris, no, excuse me, Mrs. Harris,
Mrs.
in
Harris.
7th grade. Everybody hated that woman. And
then
then,
Grace Davis.
and then Grace Davis, yeah, in the 8th grade, and you had her afterwards.
Yeah, I had Grace Davis all the way out, and then we got Sybil Hires. Well, we had got 2 teachers. Sybil Hires was taught
Well,
first and
that was
third.
after my time.
First and third grade. We put it in 1936, put a wing on the school. And the first year Grace Davis taught, it was just, she taught everybody. And then,
Well, that's what we had. One of everything except the outhouses.
and then they put a wing on, and the Sybil Ayers taught from the first to the third grade. And she had Grace Davis had all the others, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Then after the 8th grade, you had to move into Fort Myers
Yeah.
and board to go to school, or
Right.
go away some other place to
Right.
find high school.
Yeah. Francis went off school, and John and I went to Fort Myers.
Then later on, I remember in the 50s, Jake Stokes would take the high school kids across the bay and meet the school bus. That's when,
I used to go on
Well,
the ferry and meet the school bus. Your
well, that
kids
was
did
later,
that, yeah.
later, but do you
Well,
remember when?
I think what he did was he took them crossing in the morning. I think they
Yeah.
got down there at night, but there was no way to get across in the morning because school started at 8 o'clock.
But he took, there was
I don't think
young
that-
Jimmy Pickens.
I don't think he did that with just a couple of, I don't even know if he
Maybe
did
one
it a
year.
year or not, but
But
I
Ralph
wasn't here at
Woodring,
the time.
Jimmy
but,
Pickens, and some of the Stokes.
yeah,
There are just a few of them, and he'd take them over early and meet the ferry. By the time my kids went over, they missed the first period of school,
that's right. If you went,
because they went on the ferry and then got on the school bus. And
Well, they had, I remember that vaguely, that too. I wasn't there then, but they, a lot of schools had classes, you had an open period, study off, and all the kids from over here had study off first period.
Yeah.
And then they went to second period and so forth. But still, that was a tough situation. But we didn't have that at all. We were the only kids that, when John and I started school, we were the only kids going to high school from here. So we went over on Sunday nights, hitchhiked up, and came back Friday night. The bus would come back down. I never rode that bus. I think John did. He'd ride the bus down and catch the
No,
bus.
you never did anything. It was regular.
Oh well. John didn't play sports until he had that heart problem, and on Fridays that's a big day for sports in high school. Daddy couldn't understand that, why he couldn't play all week. Why he had to play on Friday nights, and particularly couldn't understand why you had to, all the people in Fort Myers.
Why you had to go out of town
Why
and
had to
play?
go out of town to find somebody to play?
I was going to tell him last night about that, right, Daddy watched you in the football game.
Oh yeah.
That's a classic story.
tell us, Francis.
What?
Tell us
All
about
right, well, he didn't like football, and he thought it was ridiculous. But finally he came, as Sam told us last night, he loved baseball, and he thought everybody should play baseball. And I'm going to interrupt the story here until Jody gets back.
Go ahead.
And so he just, he said, well, in fact, when I went away to prep school, everybody in my school was into sport. I refused to play football because Daddy didn't like it. And people made fun of me and whatnot. So I fixed them. I went out for boxing. A couple of guys that didn't like me, I beat them up. But I just didn't play football because he didn't like it. But then a year he decided, well, if that's nothing else is going, you join the crowd and play football. So anyway, he condescended to us playing football. Well, Sam turned out to be a pretty good player in high school. But I don't know, it was his junior year or whatnot, he went over to see Sam play. And they get out there to the stadium, they run around, and then they all disappeared, and you wonder where they went. Oh, they're went back in the locker room to get ready, and then he come out again. They played, and Daddy was describing. He said they'd get in a muddle. They'd all get in there, and then they'd run out, and they'd walk, and they'd stop, and they'd play, and everything. And finally, the game quit. Everybody walked off the field. He got up ready to leave, and he said, "The game? Oh no, it's only half done." Well, how long does the game last? Well, high school game, 45 minutes. Daddy looked at his watch. He said, "Well, it's already been an hour or something that he played." So finally the second half came back, and he went through the muddle and all that, and he waited for Sam to get out of the locker room. And you know, Daddy couldn't see very well anyway, and his helmet's on. And Sam was, you know, he played what he thought was a pretty darn good game. He was kind of puffed up about it. And when Sam came out of the locker room, Daddy said, "Did you play?"
He couldn't understand. He said, "Why do you call this football?" And said, "You know, the only time I ever saw the ball is every once in a while it'd be, then all of a sudden this ball would shoot up."
Yeah, I
into the
forgot
air."
that part of it.
He said, "I didn't see he put it." He knew a little bit. I think that he had seen rugby or something, and he thought the ball was kicked around like soccer.
Football? What the
He
heck?
thought he really didn't understand it. The only game he really played.
Did you play?
Was baseball.
Well, like sticking a needle in a balloon, they was that way. But you know, you really can't tell people when you put those helmets on. It's hard to see it. He couldn't see anyway. Daddy was very blind. Well, what else we got? I mean,
Well, Francis, and your daddy used to go to the community church every Christmas Eve, didn't he? And he had a little service.
He
And,
went every Sunday.
oh, well, when he didn't have a minister, he was conducting the
yeah.
service.
Well, we had services when we were growing up. Yes, we did. We had services at the community church of religious services, and then Santa Claus came and delivered packages to all the children.
That was over at the community house then?
No,
No.
no, in those days it was at the church.
at the
It
church.
migrated a little bit later on. It got too big and it migrated up to the church. I mean the community house. But
We did it in the church mainly because
well, it's Christmas Eve. It's a religious.
we wanted to have a religious
More than
service.
all that too, I forgot another thing we did there was the teachers all had us at the school with a play. And we all
put on a play.
And then sometimes they had the adults. they had what? They had Uncle Ernest and Daddy and Mr. Cockrell, this guy that you couldn't see whatnot, and they were supposed to sing "We Three Kings of Orient Are." Well, if you didn't.
They dressed it up like three kings. It was you know, it was just an act, sort of like an act. See? Well, old that Cockrell couldn't find it in the book. and Daddy couldn't see it.
He couldn't see the thing.
And Uncle Ernest had the wrong tune. And every time they try to lean over, the crowd would fall.
Even as little kids, we thought it was.
I tell you, the whole audience was dying, you know. Yeah, it was something else. But we did. We put on quite a play. You know, we had.
I had to go out on stage one
Costumes
time
and-
all by myself and blow a horn, and I think I said, "The king is coming."
Yeah.
And I practiced that and shook in my boots and told my mother I wasn't going to do it, and she informed me that I was going to do it. I don't remember the outcome, but I remember the agony going through practicing for it.
Well, then later on, Francis, in the 50s, you were the one who read the Christmas story.
Well, yeah,
at the community
I
house.
said that last night. Somebody asked me that. I think it was Evan Joy, yeah.
'Cause he would remember, then we went over to the community house
Yes.
for Santa
For
Claus.
the Santa Claus. It had gotten to the point where they just went to the community house and all they did was give out the presents. And it was Priscilla's idea, and she got together with some other people, and that's what we evolved into. One of the young man from someplace, remember, used to lead us in singing, and he was at High Tide. I mean, he was a winter guest. I can't think of his name, I can see his face, yeah.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think the organ was given in his name at the Episcopal Church later on, many years later.
Could be, I don't know, Mary.
Yeah.
All right, what else? I mean,
Well, who went to school with you? Name some of the people who were in school with you.
well,
The kids?
Preston Woodring, James Stewart, all the Stewart kids, JB, and, well, JB didn't go, he was missing, but Ernest, then the Williams boys from Captiva, Oliver and Willie and Lottie Williams, and,
And the Cass kids? And,
yeah.
Did you say the Willises?
No, I didn't go to school with them, that
Yeah,
came
Lang
along
the
after
Willis,
you, and then the
yeah.
Palmers at the Lighthouse. We're gonna ring the bell.
Dottie Wakefield went
Yeah.
there, and of course,
Marie Coleman went 1 or 2 days, but she was Marie Dickey then. She didn't go. She was like John. She was sickly. She had the asthma particularly, and she didn't go to school much.
How about Ellie Dormer? Did she go to school some of the time?
Yes, when they were down here, short periods in the winter, you know, a couple
She
months.
is.
And her brother
they went
Sherwin,
there. Yeah.
who lives
They
up
weren't
in,
here that much.
who lives up in Sarasota now, and
And Ross, her other brother, did Ross go?
well, he was older. I never went to school with him. No.
Yeah, he was old in Francis. I don't remember him being
Oh.
in school.
And then we had some people that would come down in the
Pauline
winter.
went to school.
Who?
Pauline Engel.
Oh yeah, Pauline, yeah. All I remember about her was she was a little tiny. She was younger than Sam, so she was 4 grades behind me, you know. She was just a little tiny girl, and she used to have this huge ribbons in her hair. And yeah,
She was always a little
she was one of those people that would come down in the winter, and then after she got in high school, I don't think she came back down here again until she was grown, and her parents had moved here. So you know that hiatus. It was one girl named Gertrude and forget her brother. 4 or 5 years they got down.
Risinger was another that came during the winter
Who?
time. Risinger, what was her name? She, not
Isabel.
Risinger,
Is it?
No.
What was her name?
He's talking about
Roger.
Mrs. Zerup's daughter.
yeah, Zera.
Oh, yes.
Red Zera.
Rena was her
Rena,
name.
Yeah.
Rena. She married, didn't she? Didn't,
Stone Cipher was the last one.
yeah, I don't know.
was
She married
to.
5 or 6 people. I don't know.
Yeah.
She went,
She didn't stay there but more than 2 days.
Rena?
She sat in the desk in front of me, and she had this long hair, and she took her hair and put it back all over my desk, and it just infuriated me.
she was there 2 or 3 years.
I never saw her
A
for 2
very
days.
short time. I think she was there after you left.
Oh, well, maybe after I left,
After
yeah.
she left. Oh, the Joiners, a whole mess of Joiners. Dora Mae and Isabel and Lucy Jane and
Yeah.
Sandfly Joiners kid.
They lived in the old Frierson house
Yeah.
up there.
Where was that?
That's on the curve
It's
of
out in the
road.
Gulf. It's out in the Gulf now.
Out in the Gulf now, almost out in the Gulf.
Near, what's
and
nearest?
Just, well, if you would coming from Captiva and drive by the Midi Mart straight, where you're gonna make that curve,
Yeah.
well, instead of making the curve, just continue on out, go way on out, then come back and go back again, and come in again where the White Heron cottages are. That's where the road went.
Helen Joiner married Sammy Woodring. I don't know. When she
Yeah.
She's probably 40 years old when she did.
Sammy
then
Woodring?
Sammy Woodring,
You
yeah.
mean Sam Woodring's
Son,
son, Sammy?
yeah.
Yeah.
The old man was called Sam and he was
Yeah.
called Sammy.
Something
lived-
I wanted to ask you about is, someone told me that your Uncle Ernest and Mrs. Cockrell used to put on Shakespearean readings
Probably.
at the community
They
house.
did things like that in the winter with Nick Carter, and yes, I'm sure they did.
So you had culture here with
Oh, yeah.
Shakespeare and dancing lessons.
We had the dancing lessons. What was it, some of those things? I don't know.
We had a dance up there once in a while too. My dad and Uncle Clarence both were big
Oh,
on
adult dances, oh, yes. You bet.
ballroom dancing. They were big on
Well,
that.
we used to do that
Yeah.
here between Christmas. We had dances, even in Mary's time. Man, we used to do that between Christmas and New Year's. Always had a big dance.
I tell you,
That's when Jake used to take the orchestra back. Sometimes he found fun of wrestling, sometimes he didn't.
It depended on how good a time he had.
That's right.
Henry Rhodes used to come out and play the guitar. He couldn't come one night because he was supposed to go somewhere else, and he said they were banking on him heavy to be there, and he couldn't make it. I don't think anybody encouraged Henry to play, but I tell you one, when you left out that I was a wonderful person was Mrs. Muskemons, and in the summertime there wasn't enough people. Sometimes in the summertime there wasn't enough people to go to church. If we went to church, there would be nobody there but us, and so Mrs. Muskemons thought it was terrible that we didn't. Daddy would read the Bible to us sometimes, but we didn't have a service, so she volunteered to teach us Sunday school. So we would go down to, Daddy opened the store every morning at 10 o'clock. He didn't keep it open, but if somebody needed something, he was always there at 10 o'clock.
On Sundays.
On Sunday, or he'd send a telegram, so when we had Sunday school, he'd go down there and stay for probably an hour, and we'd walk down to Ms. Muskemons' house, which was very close to the old mayor house, Mrs. Mayor. Yeah, like 2 doors down or something.
Well, it was the first door down. There was a lot of space in between, but no other building.
2 doors now. And there was a garage there and an empty space, and then Mrs. Muskemons' house. There were really two lots. One of them was hers between her, anyway. And we used to go down there for Sunday school. Sometimes it might only be one of us. And she'd teach us Sunday school, and we enjoyed it. At first we were against it, but she was really nice, a really nice lady, and we didn't have a great deal to do on Sunday anyway, so.
Jody suggested we might go outside and,
Yeah, by the buildings.
shall we turn this on?
I understand that there was
It was-
a golf course in between, a miniature golf
Well,
course
it was-
in between the store and the tea room.
It was, yeah, and some of those things are still down there. It was built down at the end of what's now called Bailey Road, and it was built for a gas station.
Walk on over.
You see that first window, that was all open, overhang.
There's a picture in there on
Yeah.
the wall,
Yeah.
and all that,
Yeah.
from the boat that comes down, all the way back was a porch.
Porch, it was made, later on it was put
You
in
don't
porch
need me.
there.
You just,
I
you know,
think,
I've
I
got to
think
go
you,
in and open
oh,
the
okay.
museum.
Oh, okay.
All the way back to here was open.
Well, they had when they had the tea room there, they had a ledge of about 3 feet around, then it was screened.
Tell the camera, I'll get it later.
3
I
feet
guess you
around,
gotta tell
then
me.
it was screened. And this was put in after when we converted it to a home, and the different style windows and that sort of thing. But this was an open screen porch when my aunt and Milbury's father had it as a tea room. And that's
And
true. Out back behind it was a 9-hole miniature golf course.
and then when it was made into a home, who lived there?
All kinds of people. Well, mostly the people that work for us, our employees.
I see.
Rhodes lived there, and then lately, the last person lived there, and that was my son.
Right here was open. All this was open.
Whoop.
And this came across a little job in here. This is where the Johnson's supposed to be. And the question I'm asking you is, should we take this out? We got to take that out because we got to take that out anyway. And should we leave the jog in here like it originally was?
down there on Christmas Day in 1949, when the power plant burned down in Fort Myers, and had that telephone jammed up my ear for 4 hours writing telegrams.
Yeah, but this was done in
Yeah, I was sitting right there when I did it.
Yeah, but it was long before that we put this in there.
Yeah, well, you just said I never saw it, but yeah.
But this is where it was. Well, what was this utilized for back here?
Well, when we built it, finally built it on, that was the office.
That was your office
Yeah.
per
See,
se.
we built 14 feet further on out here in this, and this was Daddy's office.
The Western Union's taken out of there then. And this,
Western Union was over here then.
that was different. But the original Western Union office was right here. It was, and the hole was cut through that little job, to come back into which was originally the storeroom, or whatever you call the back end of the store.
That must be an original safe back there then, huh?
Yeah, that's they
Wow.
dug out of the bay.
So these doors, of course, were added and what have you. But those windows,
Well, those doors weren't even put in after much later. See, when
Yeah, but those
Daddy
doors-
built this extension on
Right,
back here, and
right.
the store was over there.
Right.
And then in 1956, we moved the gas pumps away from here, well, this building,
Yeah,
up to where it's now the Chevron station.
okay.
Then I moved, then a year or so later, I moved the door over here for a lot of reasons. I wanted to use that for storage space, the wind blowing it off the bay, but the parking was over here.
But like these windows, everything that we see here, those were original back to the days of 26.
Where these two doors are with windows. There's a window there and a window there.
Where that door is.
It's a double door in the middle, and that's all in the front.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See that?
yeah.
See that?
That's drawing, that's
All
drawing.
right, look, that's what I'm asking here now, we're here. Cost prohibits us from shaking it. We may have to just put that by 5 feet ramp up there, what do you want to do? I've got